In this course module, we set some important foundations about the way CSS works, and we worked with selectors, properties, and values. Now, just to bring this back into memory, selectors are things like div, class blog post, ID main title, the disabled attribute, or the universal selector. Properties are things like background color. We haven't seen that. We used background. It's connected to that, of course, though. Width, color, margin, display. Here are also a couple of properties we haven't used before. We will use them throughout the course. Values then are things like red, percentages, colors and hex codes, pixels, or clearly defined values like block. Again, these are things we will also see throughout this course. Now, if you're wondering, how do you know which properties and which values exist? Let me start with the properties. If you Google for MDN CSS reference, or you use the link you find in the last lecture of this module, you will find this page, where you got a basic explanation of the CSS syntax, and where you then got this keyword index. Here you see not just the properties CSS knows, but also things like all pseudo classes and elements, something we hadn't had a look at yet. And this is a great way to finding that specific property you're looking for, or finding more information about that property you found in the solution on Stack Overflow, but which you don't fully understand. Now, please, here's one thing you should not do. Don't learn this list by heart. It's way too long. There are properties you don't use at all. And in the end, once you made it through that course and once you start working on project with CSS, you will see that you use the same set of maybe 20 properties all the time. And it's really hard to memorize these. So this is a great reference, but not something you should start learning right now. Just want to point you to it so that you do always know where you can look things up. Now, what about the values though? For one, in the reference I just showed you, if you click on a specific property, you also see how you can configure it and which values it will accept. Because values are tightly coupled to specific properties. You can roughly categorize the types of values into 4 categories, though there are a bit more some special cases, but here are the 4 categories I came up with. You got properties that simply use predefined options, something like display block. We didn't learn about this property yet, but this simply is a property. It doesn't use a hex code, it doesn't use a number, it just accepts a couple of predefined values. Overflow auto would be another example. Then you have colors. They work with red, a hex code, or a shorter version of the hex code, and also some special color functions. Something we'll also dive in later. Then we got length, sizes, and numbers, something like pixels, or percentages, or just integers. Again, all these properties, we'll see them a couple of times throughout the entire course. And last but not least, we got functions. Something like a URL, where we seem to be using something different than just a color as a background, or transformation functions, where we can scale or rotate elements, something we'll cover in the transformation module. And of course, there are more values. Again, the reference holds them all, and you will see way more in this course. Just wanted to round this up by letting you know where you can find more information and how this generally works.